So in Juneau, Alaska, middle school not only features math and social studies, science, but also gun safety as well. I'm very pleased to have with us on the program right now the Executive Director of the Association of American Educators, Gary Beckner. And Gary, thanks again for joining us tonight, sir.
Cam, it's our pleasure. We love being on the air.
Well, we're glad to have you. In an interesting post at the American Association or the Association of American Educators website, aaeteachers.org, talking about these middle school gun classes. And I confess, I was not aware that middle schools in Juneau were conducting these courses, but it makes a lot of sense. The large number of gun-owning households in Alaska. Middle school teacher Rebecca Farrell, you guys point out, the students there get a lot out of the program because the environment is unforgiving. They need to know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate when it comes to handling firearms. But you guys also say these types of classes may seem ludicrous to teachers and students that are living in cities or suburban communities. I'm kind of curious. You asked on your website what other teachers thought about this. What kind of reaction has this received, Gary?
Positive. Cam, I'm happy to report you would understand, of course, that the NEA, the National Education Association, the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, they would not support a program like this.
Oh, no.
But our members, I'm happy to report, have a healthier dose of common sense than members of those organizations, and they understand this. I mean, and frankly, we didn't mean to make it sound as if we thought this was unique and maybe special just for Alaska. I mean, there are many states that ought to be including programs like this.
Yeah, and I know that West Virginia, I think, has a middle school program. Arizona, a couple of years ago, passed legislation that actually allows school districts to do a 6-month-long gun safety slash history of the Second Amendment course as well. So there are other states that are doing it, but as you say, the educational establishment in many aspects, the NEA and others, they have had anti-gun positions for decades now.
Right.
And so
I was listening to Senator Grassley, who's one of our favorite people, on your earlier segment, and when you talk about should other states be doing programs like this, I mean, let's talk about California and Arizona as an example. I mean, if our federal government is going to be supplying guns to drug cartels, we ought to be teaching parents and kids how to protect themselves for sure.
Well, and frankly, I know that in urban areas, this would be a very tough sell. But, I kind of wonder, we've seen over, I think, the past 40 or 50 years, our urban areas go from places where the high schools had rifle teams. And we have listeners who have told me about taking their .22 on the subway in New York City in the 1950s and 60s as they went to high school to go to the shooting range in the basement. To now, the idea that anybody could ever be a law-abiding gun owner, that there could ever be a reason to own a firearm, that idea is shunned. JROTC programs are under fire in a lot of urban areas. 4A shooting sports programs are non-existent in a lot of areas. And frankly, I think a lot of our urban environments are probably hurting because of this, because there is no education at all on being a responsible gun owner.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I know our members would too. As an example, the AAE, the Association of American Educators, we have endorsed the NRA's Eddie Eagle gun safe program.
Oh, really?
And that's it's people need to understand this is not about teaching kids just how to fire weapons. I mean, this is, for instance, I tried to pull it up earlier, but I'm pretty sure that the motto or the byline or the teaching method of the Eddie Eagle gun safe program is if a kid basically sees a gun in the neighborhood, he or she is supposed to stop, don't touch that weapon, don't get close to that weapon, leave the area and tell an adult. I mean, that's something every kid should learn. Yeah,
no, it is, and you're right. And in fact, the Eddie Eagle program has over the years taught more than 20 million kids. And I can tell you there have been success stories, not just in rural areas, but in urban areas as well, where Eddie Eagles come in, and within a matter of months, you've had young kids. I recall, I think this was in Kansas City, Missouri, a few years ago. Right after the Eddie Eagle program came in, there was some kids that were, I think, waiting for the bus, and one of them found a gun under a bush that somebody had thrown, under there. But they knew what to do, and they alerted the adults. They didn't touch the firearm, and frankly, a tragedy may have been prevented because of that education. That's what I don't understand. Is this attitude from some of the folks within the NEA and some of these other associations that say education about this is a bad thing? How can educators say education is a bad thing?
Well, educators don't. This is just the leadership of the NEA and AFT, who is obviously lurched so far left, towards a social agenda that just doesn't include common sense. So when people think educators are thinking this way, they're not. At least there are hundreds of thousands of who don't think this way, especially in the states we're talking about. And this Alaska Department of Fish and Game program that we're talking about, it also encompasses other curriculum subjects like how to use a compass, how to navigate the forest, survival techniques in case they're ever lost, in a snowstorm. I mean, so it's not all just about guns; it's about safety. And guns, of course, in many of these states, they certainly need to learn gun safety. So these are programs that are designed with kids in mind, and they're designed with local control. The control of basically empowering states and local districts to design a curriculum that's unique to their situation.
And are you guys running into opposition with that? I mean, are there forces out there within the educational establishment that say, no, you should not be able to do things like this?
Well, we haven't regarding these types of programs, but the general pull and tug is over the debate now going on between national control or national standards or national approved programs by the Department of Education or the government versus local control of schools and what they want to design a curriculum to be what they think is right for their communities. That's been a tug of war going on for a number of years. It's starting to surface more now that we have an administration that's pushing more for national control of our curriculum. And so it's going to be a battle for a while until one of these sides is going to win. Hopefully, we hope our members think that it should be all about states' rights and local control.
Well, interesting, Gary. I appreciate you coming on the program. The one thing that I would say is I'm less concerned with states' rights as much as I am concerned with the ability of parents and those within the community, the educational community, to help set that curriculum for their kids. I think that's their right as parents and their right as local educators.
You're right on about that. And our organization totally understands that the education is all about the child and the parent of that child choosing what is best for that child. I mean, nobody knows better than the parent.
Gary, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, sir. Hope we can do it again, and thanks again for coming on the show tonight.
I'm happy to be on at any time.
Gary Beckner joining us, the Executive Director of the Association of American Educators.